Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, everyone. I think Matt's going to share my presentation so that I don't get kicked out of Zoom as usual. Thanks, Matt. I can go to the next slide. So I'm going to just be giving an update on the contrast dye shortage that's been quite a bit in the news, and we did issue a new media release today, but just as by way of background, injectable iodinated contrast agents are used in imaging such as CT scans, angiography, and really what they help do is detail out tissues and vessels in the body and really help the radiologist assess and diagnose disease. They help guide therapeutic interventions by interventional radiologists, cardiologists, and other proceduralists. So very critical piece of our toolkit in the hospital. So two of the most used agents in North America have been impacted by this shortage. And this is impacted due to the closure of a manufacturing site in Shanghai during the COVID lockdown measures, in addition to some supply chain issues that also came due to those lockdowns. So those created some delays in distribution and transportation. Next slide, Matt. So this is the latest update. So our supplier for our iodinated contrast is GE Healthcare. So they've been working with local authorities and operators to get the plant back in line. They were back up to 60% by May 21st and expect to be operating back at 75% in the next 2 weeks. They do have another plant in Quartz, Ireland that they are hoping to get their capacity up and running to help service North America. They typically only supply Europe at this time, and they are accelerating their product delivery. So they are looking at switching logistical routes where possible from sea to air from both Shanghai and Quartz. And they're optimizing their production to focus on the 3 main product variations rather than having multiple variations, which of course is not as efficient. And there is a link there to more information on the GE Healthcare latest update on that slide. Next slide, please, Matt. So what we do know about these updates is that the Quartz plant will not start production for a few weeks. So I think everybody realizes it takes a long time to retool plants, to get them up and running, to increase the resources and to get them functioning at a high enough capacity to be supplying North America, in addition to Europe. Previous reports from GE about Shanghai being up to 75% production capacity, those are not, that is not production capacity that is slated for Canada. That is for the US. And Canada is not expecting our first shipment from Shanghai until the end of June. And it's coming by ship, it's not coming by air. So that'll be coming to us sometime at the end of June into Vancouver. So we are in active discussions with the Ministry of Health and our suppliers looking at alternatives. Next slide, please. So we actually started on Monday this week initiating prioritization of our scans, cardiac angiography, and other diagnostic studies and interventions. So we are prioritizing our contrast for patients with major trauma, strokes, cardiac issues, things like bowel blockages, and our critical care patients. Any patients that are being impacted by this prioritization will be contacted directly to reschedule, defer, or in some cases, we might be just changing the type of imaging procedure. For example, instead of getting a CT with contrast, they might be getting booked for an MRI instead. And we are actively working with the West Region of Ontario Health and other provincial bodies to prioritize the use of our contrast dye. And next slide. So I didn't add on the slide, but we are meeting, we are in contact every day with our suppliers, and we are updating all of our clinicians on a day-to-day basis, keeping them posted and obviously tracking our inventory. So that is the end of my report.